Welcome to Diamond Property Group. In this video, I'd like to share 3 different ways that you can employ to get rid of your consumer debt. My motivation for this video is the fact that I come across so many first home buyers or people who are trying to get financially ahead. They might have very good incomes, reasonable deposits, but then they also have got between $30,000 to $60,000 of consumer debt. And this is what really hurts their application when they go and want to borrow more money for example, their property, because consumer debt is very expensive and it takes away a lot of money that you instead could be putting towards the mortgage. So it reduces your borrowing capacity by hundreds of thousands of dollars. So there are 3 different ways that I'm going to describe that you can use to get rid of your consumer debt. So the first one is called a snowball effect. It's a very proactive, very aggressive way, and it really helped our client Max to get rid of almost $30,000 worth of his consumer debt. So when Max came to us, he had 6 different loans. So he had very busy financials. He had a personal loan with GE Money. He had 3 different credit cards, Amex, Kiwi Bank credit card, Westpac credit card. He also had a Harmony loan of $1,700 on an interest rate of whopping 36%. And finally, he had an ANZ overdraft that he got when he was a student, and he never paid it off. He just pays $20 per month. So that's the total balance of his loans, and that's the balance that we started working with when he came to us. These are the corresponding interest rates for each of the loans. So the personal loan is 17%, all of the credit cards and overdrafts are 20%, and Harmony, like I said, is 36%. There are minimum monthly repayments that he was making. So you can have a look at different minimum monthly repayments, $335, $120, and so on. So if he stuck to those, to just making minimum monthly repayments, then it would take him almost 5 years to get rid of all this debt. Surely there must be a better way of doing it. Now, Max, he was on reasonable income. I think it was somewhere around $80,000 to $90,000 gross. And I asked him to come up with a cash surplus that he could contribute towards his consumer debt. He was trying to save up money for something else, and I said there is no point saving at 3% when you could be using that money and getting a net return of 25% on that money. So he came up with a cash surplus of $400 a month, so it was around $100 a week. And the way that the snowball effect works is that you start paying off your debts depending on, you can start with the smallest amount, so you can get more and more enthusiastic as you pay them off, so that your first win happens after the first few months. Or you can start with a debt that incurs the highest interest rate. For Max, I said, look, you've got to deal with your Harmony. The amount is not huge, but the interest rate they're charging you is just through the roof. So this was our top priority. Then the second priority, and then we started paying off the debts just based on the amount. So the second one was ANZ overdraft. Then we had Westpac credit card, American Express, Kiwi Bank credit card, and finally GE Money. So the way that this system works is when you first start working on this, is you grab your $400 and you throw it towards Harmony. Don't forget that you are already paying $300 towards Harmony, so the total monthly repayment becomes $700, which is quite a lot. So how long will it take to pay off the Harmony? It took about 3 months. Once Harmony is paid off, you use your original surplus of $400, then you maintain the payment that you've been paying towards Harmony, which is $300, so the total becomes $700 now, and you apply it towards the next loan. So in our case, it's ANZ overdraft. So he started throwing $700 per month plus the small $20 that he would have been doing anyway, so $720, and ANZ overdraft was gotten rid of in less than 2 months. He repeated the same process with all other loans, basically. And at the end, the results that he got were quite fantastic. Basically, the GE money, so everything that's in black is, the old scenario. And after he's done those changes, the GE money was paid off in 22 months. The American Express card was paid off in 11 months instead of 50. Harmony was paid off in 3. Kiwi Bank credit card was paid off in 14 months instead of original 25. Westpac credit card was paid off in 7 months instead of 56. And the NZ overdraft was paid off in 5 months instead of never having been paid off. So he got rid of all of it in less than 2 years, and he also made savings of $7,000. So he could have paid to someone, $10,000. It was actually, if he followed this system, he would have paid $10,500 in interest repayments. Instead, the new system cost him $3,500. So I say, that's a fantastic outcome. So that's the system that Max chose to use, and it worked very well for him. He had extra money to throw it. However, what happens if you own your own home? Well, you've got a different option of dealing with it. What you can do is you can take your consumer debt to your banker, and you can ask them to top up your mortgage. So in this instance, we would top our mortgage by, $28,000 basically. As you know, the mortgage on your own home enjoys a very affordable interest rate. So you can get it at about 4.5%. So what happens if you put it on your mortgage? What I would suggest is don't take out a 30-year loan for that 27 or 28K. It's too long. If you do that, yes, your repayments are only going to be $50 a month. But the thing is, over the course of the following 30 years, you'll pay back $60,000. So that's huge. There's no need for that. Especially if you've been able to afford to pay, this sort of amounts, why not, continue paying that? And so if you refinance it with the bank, let's say we're refinancing $28,000, we have a 2-year term, 4.5% interest rate, then not only your repayments can actually come down, they don't need to be $1,500, they can be $1,300. And you'll pay it off in 2 years, and the interest rate you'll pay is less than $1,500. So you are saving $9,000. It's crazy, isn't it? So that's a second way for you. So I hope you've got some equity, and if you are, in this sort of hole, call your banker and try to organize that. Now, the third way that you can do, so if you cannot refinance it and top it up on your mortgage, then what I would also suggest is go and transfer the loans that you have on your credit cards. So like in Max, he would, it would be about $12,000. Transfer those credit cards onto a new credit card that has got a promotion of 0% interest rate. 0% interest for the first 12 months. Maintain those same repayments. So if you're, for example, transferring, $12,000, if you're maintaining those payments, you can pay it off in 1 year, and then just keep making minimum monthly repayments for your GE loan. So that way, you can also pay it off in under 2 years, and you will pay the same amount of interest as in the case here. So that's another system available to you. Now, there's one way that I'm not a huge fan of. I think it's more of a band-aid solution, and it's debt consolidation loan. So we hear those companies all the time advertising, hey, get a consolidation loan because instead of making 6 payments, you can make 1 payment. And so the thing is, the personal loans, they're quite expensive. They're 14 to 20%. And it might not be worthwhile because you will have to pay new establishment fee, And it's more of a really band-aid solution. I'm not a big fan of that. So just when you do get offered that, make sure you check everything and you make sure that it actually works for you. So that's the 3 ways that I've given to you. So that's the snowball effect, top it up on your mortgage, and the third one is transfer the debt onto the 0% credit card. Now, a couple of tips that I would also strongly suggest to you is that once you start taking your debt and getting rid of it, I would suggest you get rid of those credit cards. You cut them up, you hide them, you freeze them. You do not spend again, okay? Otherwise, you are just not helping yourself. It's a merry-go-round waste of time. So get rid of those credit cards. You can block them, you can throw them away. There are different ways of dealing with that. The other thing is, obviously I've said, if it's a top-up, then don't refinance for 30 years. It's way too expensive. Learn from lesson. It's a good lesson. Don't do it again. You can see how easy it is to acquire a debt. Like we go to Harvey Norman, we see the TV we've got to have, or the iPhones and things like that. But paying it off is just a pain. And so I hope that you found this video useful. Please don't forget that we actually do help people get rid of their consumer debt in a very smart way, in a very affordable way, in a way that can shorten the time and save you money on interest rate. So if you are in a similar situation that Max has been in, give us a call. We'll talk you through it, and hopefully you can be on your way towards financial independence.